Today we'll look at all about arrow tools in Affinity. So to access the arrow tool, you can navigate to the left in our toolbar and click on this particular tool called arrow tool. If you don't see arrow tool, you can simply click and hold or simply click, and Affinity will give you a set of options right here which have different shapes. So you can click the arrow tool from this tool right here. After selecting the arrow tool, to create a new arrow tool, simply click and drag in the artboard like so. And to snap your dimension, you can hold down the shift key, and now you can see the proportion is maintained well enough after we hold down the shift key. After we are satisfied with our arrow, simply let go of your mouse, and now a new arrow has been created. So before looking into other settings of the arrow tool, first of all, let's navigate to the move tool, select our newly created arrow and align it horizontally and vertically to the center. So to do that, navigate up to the alignment tool and let's align it horizontally to the center and align it vertically to the center. After we have aligned it horizontally and vertically to the center, let's click on apply. And the next thing is we can tweak the arrows as per our preference. So to customize the arrow, we can first of all resize the arrow. So as you can see here, if we resize the arrow from the point on the right, it changes the length of the arrow by maintaining the proportion. And if we change the height of the arrow by clicking on the point at the bottom, you can see that it maintains the proportion of the arrowhead on the left and right like so. So the next thing is we can also change its dimension by picking and dragging on the corner points like so. And right now it is again maintaining the proportion of the arrow. If we hold down the shift key and then click and drag the corner points, it is making the size or dimension uniform altogether. So you can change or transform the dimension of the arrow with the corner points. And the next thing we'll be looking at is the different settings of the arrow. So the different settings that we have is the settings that are present in our contextual taskbar above. And the contextual taskbar changes right after we click on the arrow tool or select the arrow tool. So you can see here we have different settings. The first settings that we have is we can change the fill color. We can give it any color that we want. I'll give it a color of, let's say, a green for now and set it to somewhere around dark green like so. We can set the stroke color to any other color. Right now you cannot see the stroke clearly because our stroke width is very less, so we need to increase the stroke width by clicking on this drop down menu and increasing the stroke like so. However, I'll revert our fill color and stroke color back by holding down the command key and pressing on the Z key so that we can see our arrows in its default color. The next thing is we can also tweak the stroke properties by clicking on this icon, and you can see that we have many different settings to change the stroke. We can change the stroke width, we can adjust the stroke gap, we can adjust the stroke joint and more. So the next settings that we have is the preset setting. If we click on the preset settings, then Affinity offers us different kind of presets for arrows. There is the preset for arrow that is present on only one end. Similarly, there are other presets as well. If we click on this icon, we have this preset, and we also have the next preset like the one which will look in actual arrow. And there are other irregular or new presets like the dumbbell arrow. If we click on it, you can see that now our arrow has been turned into a dumbbell. So let's again align it to the center by going to the alignment tool and aligning it both horizontally and vertically and clicking on apply. Now the next properties that we have is the properties of thickness. As you can see here, if we decrease and increase the thickness, it maintains the thickness of our arrow's length in the middle right here. And the other settings is we can also change the type of the ends of the arrow. So we can select any ends of the arrow. We can select it to be an arrow type, a barb type, a chevron type, and more. However, I'll keep it as circle type for now, and we can change it similarly with the other end as well. As you can see, we have box type, diamond type, and more. I'll keep it as it is for this one as well. So the other settings is for the left and right settings, that is for the left part of the arrow and the right part of the arrow. And if we keep the proportional option checked, you can see that when we resize it, it maintains the proportion of both the type of the arrow on either of the ends. So if I uncheck the proportion in both sides, you can see that it does not maintain the proportion when we are changing the dimension of the arrow like so. I'll hold down the command key and press the Z key to undo, and I'll check the proportion options for both the left and right side or ends of the arrow. So the next option that we have is the size option. As the property's name suggests, it simply refers to the size of the ends of an arrow. And the next thing we can do is we can customize the arrow as per our preference. So in order to do that, first of all, make sure that you have selected your arrow tool or your shape tool. And after you select your arrow tool or shift tool, you'll see this particular red dots right here. We can also change it intuitively by simply clicking and dragging with our mouse. So if we want to change the thickness of our arrow, then we can simply click and drag like so, and now it changes our thickness of the arrow intuitively. We can also change the size of the right and left arrowheads in either end by clicking and dragging this red point like this. As you can see, it's changing the size like so. And you can also change the size of the arrow in the other opposite end by clicking and dragging the red point or red dot like so. And remember, the red dot can only be accessed and customized after you select the arrow tool or the shape tool. And if you want to go into more customization, then you can simply access this icon right here which says convert to curves and click it. You can also right click on the shape and navigate down, and you can see an option called convert to curves. You can access the same feature or option by right clicking as well. However, for this tutorial, I'll click on this particular icon to access the convert to curves. And as soon as we click on convert to curves, you can see that now it has changed the mode of arrow and had given us more controls by introducing new different points of the arrow. So when we are tweaking these individual points, make sure that your node tool is selected. You can also press the A to access the node tool. And now after you access the node tool, you can click, select, and drag to customize your arrow individually like so. So we can customize in many ways. So we can simply click and drag and maybe make it a bit different or maybe make it a bit irregular. We can simply click on these control handles and simply drag to change in whatever shapes we want. We can also hold down the option key to change the point into a point type instead of curves. We can simply hold down the option key and point click on these particular points to change its type to a point type. And we can do the similar for other points as well, which you can see here. Now let's adjust this particular point that we recently changed back to its normal position. And we can again hold down the option key and click on this particular point to turn it back. Now you can see that we have a diamond shaped dumbbell or arrow. So this is how we can change the settings and create a new arrow easily and intuitively in Affinity. So if you find this video helpful, please give it a like and thumbs up. For more tips and tricks related to Affinity in the future, hit the subscribe button. Thank you for watching this video and see you on the next video.